beautiful people, and welcome. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to divide fractions. In this video, we are focusing on dividing improper, and I'm going to show you a brief example of how to convert mixed numbers into improper fractions. That way, our steps can still work. As always, if you catch a mistake, I do apologize. I am human. Just let me know where the mistake occurs so that way I can learn from my mistakes and you can learn from my mistakes as well. If you hear any noise in the background, I do apologize. We are recording at home and Miss Sylvanas is being a happy little kitty in the background. All right, let's get started. So when we're dividing fractions, we're actually going to cheat a little bit. I'm starting this video out and I'm already talking about cheating. I don't allow cheating, but the way to divide fractions is really by multiplying. So we don't like dividing fractions, and how to divide fractions is by multiplying. So I'm going to start out with an example, and I'm going to list out some steps for you, and hopefully this is something you're going to enjoy. So let's do example number 1, and let's do 5/8 divided by 1/2. Now you might see equations done this way, you might see the setup of dividing fractions done this way. You might also see it in a different way, and I'll show you in a different way in our next example. So step number 1, we're going to apply the KFC method. Now, before you think Kentucky Fried Chicken, I don't mean we're going to go out and get some chicken right now, although I am hungry. That would be fantastic. So, KFC, we're going to keep, flip, change. Okay. We're going to keep the first fraction. We're going to flip the second fraction, and we're going to change division to multiplication. So we're going to change to multiply. Okay, so let's do that. So step number 1, K, F, C. Now it's KCF when we write it out, but KFC is easier to remember. Okay, so we're going to keep our first fraction. We're going to flip our second. Okay, by flip, what I mean is we're going to take the reciprocal. Okay, what that means to take the reciprocal, let me show you. Our original fraction, let me get a little sticky note here. Our original fraction is 1/2. So whenever you take the reciprocal, that means I'm going to flip the fraction. And what that means is I'm going to take the number that's on top, put it on the bottom, and I'm going to take the number that was on the bottom and put it on top. So now I do not have 1/2, but I have 2/1. I used to have 1/2, now I have 2/1. So I took the reciprocal. I take these and I flip it. Again, let me show you. So that's my original fraction. I'm going to flip it by flipping it this way. So I have 2/1 now. So I'm going to keep my keep my first fraction, flip my second fraction, and I'm going to change my sign to multiply. From here, you're going to apply step number 2. Multiply across. So we're going to multiply across. If you watched my previous videos, you know that to multiply fractions with one word, and that word is to multiply across. So I'm going to say 5 times 2 is 10. 8 times 1 is 8. Step number 3 is simplify. or reduce your final answer. Okay, so what that means is, in my class, what we like to do is we like to write out the factors. So I know 10 is 5 times 2. I know 8, yes, 8 is 8 times 1, but we want to eliminate using 1 as much as possible. I know 8 is 4 times 2. I have a 2 on top, 2 on the bottom. I get to cross that out. So my final answer is 5 over 4. Now, if you have more if you have more factors, like if you can factor 5 and you can factor 4 and keep canceling, go ahead and do that. But if you cannot, then leave it. All right, let's try it again. Example 2. So let me show you the other way you might see dividing fractions. And you might come across this in Integrated Math 1. You might come across this definitely in higher math in IM2, IM3 for sure. So let's do something like 14 thirds divided by, let's do 1/3. Now, I specifically drew this line a little bit longer so you can note the difference, but a lot of times the lines are going to be exactly the same length. So it's going to look like 14, line 3, line 1, line 3. It looks very confusing. So all you have to know is you have a fraction divided by fraction. When you have a fraction divided by a fraction, you're going to apply these rules and you'll be fine. So step number 1, apply the KFC method. Keep your first fraction, flip your second fraction, change your divided by to multiplication. Now, once you do that, you're not going to keep the format. You're going to change the format like we did here on example number 1. So keep your first fraction the same. So I have 14 thirds. Flip your second fraction, take the reciprocal. So I have 1/3. So here's 1. Here's 3. So 1/3. So what am I going to do with that? Let me shift this up so you guys can see. So I have 1/3. I'm going to flip it by putting that 1 on the bottom and 3 on the top. So now I have 3 over 1. So now I have 3 over 1. So then I'm going to take my divided by, change it to multiplied by, and now I'm on step number 2. Step number 2, multiply across. Now, 14 times 3, I have no idea what that is, but I noticed something, that if I do 14 times 3 and I multiply across just like we did, I notice I have a 3 on top and 3 on the bottom. So you don't have to multiply out. If you notice the same number on top and the same number on the bottom, you get to divide those and those equal to 1. So what is left over? 14 on top, 1 on the bottom. Anytime you have 1 on the bottom, mathematicians are what? We are lazy. So we delete it, undo it, get rid of it, and so now we just have 14. So 14 thirds divided by 1/3 is just 14. Let's do one more example. In this example, I'm going to be showing you how to divide how to divide mixed numbers. Now, mixed numbers can be converted to improper, and that's exactly what we're going to do. And if you haven't already, go ahead and head over to my website, teachingsylvanusmath.com. Under Foundational Math, you're going to notice a video that's called Converting Improper to Mixed Numbers. And you can watch that video on how to do it. I'm going to go over it just a little bit, but if you want more detailed examples, go ahead and head over to that video. All right, so let's do something like 3 1/2 divided by 5 2/3. So step number 1 in dealing with something like this is you're going to convert from your mixed number to improper. How do you do that? Is you take your denominator, multiply it by your whole number, and add that to your numerator. Take your denominator, multiply it by your whole number, add it to your numerator. So 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. And then once you do that, you're going to keep your original denominator. Again, if you need this to go a little slower, go ahead and head over to my converting fractions video. Again, we're going to keep everything the same. The step number 1 doesn't talk about KFC anymore. Step number 1 is just converting. 3 times 5 is 15, 16, 17. Keep your original denominator. Okay, now that we're done with step number 2, I'm just going to write from here, you're going to continue with the original steps. And our original steps are the ones that we did in example 1 and example 2. So example number 1 is, step number 1, not this step number 1, but the original step number 1 says apply the KFC method. So you're going to keep, you're going to flip, you're going to change. So keep, you're going to flip, and you're going to change. Step number 2, multiply across. 7 times 3 is 21. 2 times 17, I honestly don't know what that is, but 17 plus 17 I can do. Here's my thinking bubble. 7 plus 7, that's 14. 1, 2, 3, so I have 34. And I'm going to see if I can factor anything out. I know that 3, and I'm trying to think in my head if we can factor this out. So I definitely know that the only factors for 21 are 7 and 3. And I'm thinking for 34, if you have a multiplication table in front of you, you can easily just look for 34. Do I have it in front of me? Let me see if I have it in front of me. Unfortunately, I do not have it in front of me. It would be easier if you have a multiplication table in front of you. You can look for number 34 and see if you have any factors. But I'm going to say, is 34 divisible by 4? It is not. 34 divisible by 3? It is not. 34 divisible by 8? It is not. So the only factors for 34, in my opinion, because I don't have my multiplication chart in front of me, are 2 and 7. Nothing cancels out, so we are going to ignore that. And our final answer is 21 over 34. All right, you guys, very short, brief video. I hope these steps help on how to divide fractions. If you have any questions, please reach out to me so you and I can go over some personal examples one-on-one. Again, if you catch any mistakes, just let me know where they are so I can learn from them. As always, like, share, subscribe, click that little notification bell. And I hope you are enjoying your time at home if you are watching this video from home. As always, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.